suppose you still haven't seen the interview I did with Legend yet?
I actually watched that interview with Legend. It was pretty interesting. It was pretty cool hearing him like talk about, you know, how he prepared for the tournaments and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty interesting.
So talked to him informally just about almost anything, and we also talked about you, the 61 card decks.
The 61 card deck, the most asked question of all time.
Why don't you give us your view?
When I first got into Magic, I played a lot with friends, so you know there's a lot of banter and like trash talk and stuff. And back in 2013, there was a mill deck called Dream Puppets, and I was playing. I can't remember what deck I was playing, but I had my opponent dead the turn after, and they top decked a card called Tome Scour, I think. It was a mill card, and I think it put 5 or 7 cards into a graveyard from your opponent's deck, and I had exactly 5 cards in my deck, which meant I died by exactly 1 card. So then, jokingly, when we next played, I put in the 61st card, so I said that would never happen again, and it kind of just stuck from there, and I never really changed it. So it's kind of just become like a tradition. It's not really any tactical purposes. It's just funny more than anything else to me.
Well, yeah, it was fun. It was fun in the finals when people were discussing that it's a 61 card deck versus 19 lands deck.
Yeah, there was a lot of people tend to. I think it's definitely the most asked question I get is people go, "Why are you playing 61 cards? Do you not know 60's better and stuff?" And it's fun because people tend to get very tilted and salty about it, which is another reason why I've kept the tradition this long. I'm afraid that there's very little tactical purposes for running 61 cards. I think it was in Magic Duels. I actually managed to do that again. They milled me, and I lived by exactly 1 card, which was it's funny. Obviously, you'll never know how many games you lost because you didn't draw a card because you had the 61st in the way. But we'll leave that behind us. It's not the most satisfying than beating Mill by exactly 1 card. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Tutelage is an interesting card, but overall it does lead to lots of funny games, especially against like a monocolored deck when you end up milling them for like 10 a turn.
After Kaladesh, when they got a lot of new tools, and especially very cheap tools such as the Cathartic Reunion, it's been much more difficult to stay alive once they get good draws.
It's been interesting to follow Mill's progression, because I mean we've had tutelage since Origins, and it's never the deck has never really died. People will keep playing Mill as long as it lives, and like you said, I mean it keeps getting more cards like Cathartic Reunion. Now it's got, in the new expansion, it's got stuff like Censor and Drakehaven and stuff like that. So
speaking of the new expansion, what are your thoughts on Amonkhet in general?
I've got to say I'm surprised the impact Amonkhet's made, just because big sets in general for duels tend to have not as much impact on the meta, just because for one we get a smaller percentage of the cards than compared to a small expansion, and with half an archetype in a way, because for example stuff like -1/-1 black and zombies and stuff, we've only got 1 set for them cards, while when Hour of Devastation comes around we'll get more Embalm, we'll get more -1/-1 stuff, we'll get more cycling. On big sets we kind of already start with half the deck, but this time around I've been surprised. I mean, the zombies deck looks pretty good. The control decks have got a lot stronger. It's definitely, like I said, I mean, it was a pleasant surprise. I was expecting some impact, but I wasn't expecting like the meta to shift this big.
Well, I think this also has to do with the fact that they included some really powerful cards that people here on Discord, for example, were quite sure wouldn't make the cut.
Yeah, I've got to say props to whoever chooses what we get from Amonkhet, because really there's very few cards in Amonkhet that I was expecting to get that we didn't get. Pretty much everything on my list was ticked off, which doesn't only happen. I mean, stuff like Pull to Tomorrow I wasn't expecting to get. I wasn't expecting to get a Sandworm Convergence. There's a lot of cards I wasn't really expecting to get, but I was pleasantly surprised. Never to Forget, that's a big one. Definitely wasn't thinking we were getting that.
When I was thinking of making the video of defining the Amonkhet cards, discussing which strategies will be viable in the new meta, I didn't make it until I actually got the list of what is going to be in duels, because otherwise you can think about what we may get but not get anything at all, and I was surprised at how much good stuff we got.
I kind of underestimated a lot of cards in the set, stuff like Insult to Injury, Prepare to Fight. These were cards I thought were decent, but they ended up being a lot better than my expectations were.
About the insult to injury, I did think that it was going to be a really cool card because it does have a lot of uses. Even in general, if you don't use it for combo, just the fact that if your opponent doesn't have blockers, everybody gets double strike is just very strong.
Yeah, I had a pretty cool game with Insult where on turn 5, I played an end of turn Samut. I played that end of turn, and then when I untapped, I played an Insult and the injury to kill my opponent from 16 through a blocker.
I think that I had a very similar game actually. So I did almost exactly the same thing. On his turn, I played Samut, and then I played Insult and Injury, and I had 2 attackers, and that was enough to finish him off. Yeah, it's really fun when it goes off, right?
The thing with Insult is that I kind of thought it was more of a fun card than an actually good card, but the more I've played with it, the better it's got. It really has been.
What is your favorite deck at the moment? What do you love to play?
That's a tough one. I haven't really got around to building everything I want to yet, but so far it's definitely been the green-blue ramp deck. I love me some Sandworm Convergence.
I think you were quite vocal about getting Sandworm Convergence on the Reddit as well.
I was jumping up and down when I saw it reach the. It was one of them cards that it's kind of iffy. You can kind of see Duels getting it, but at the same time you can also see it not getting it. But I was very happy, and I've had a lot of fun games where my opponents played like a Smuggler's Copter and like a Heart Kieran, and then I've just played the Sandworm Convergence, and they're basically paperweights.
So you all heard it here. If you want the Sandworm Convergence, you know where to find it. Anything else that you think might be cool or might be strong in the current meta?
I mean, I'm not very much of a control player, but I do dabble with it from time to time, and I'm interested to try out some sort of blue-white, maybe blue-black control deck with Torrential Gearhulk with Commit to Memory. I'm tempted to get something brewing with that. Looking forward to building a control deck at some point. I might. It's been a couple seasons now since I've ever felt like I wanted to build one, but with stuff like Pull to Tomorrow, Cast Out, Never to Return, I'm interested. I might become a control mage.
Magic Duels is good because right now, once we have so many sets, you have such a huge amount of variety of decks that you can play.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about Duels is that you don't need to be playing the best deck in the game to reach like rank 40. So it just means when you go on the ladder, anything's possible. You can be facing an energy deck, you can be facing control, white aggro, stuff like that. It's pretty cool that there's so much. It's very rare that you bump into the same thing twice on the ladder, for example.
Yeah, unless they play the same player with the same deck, this happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny when they switch though. You bump into them again, you beat them again, even though they're playing a different deck. That's always a satisfying moment. In 2015 and earlier, because you could actually, on Steam anyway, you could choose your opponents. It was like a lobby-based system. It was pretty common that they jump straight back in, and then you could choose whether you wanted to play them again or just leave. It was a lot funny because you could have situations where someone just kept coming back and you just keep beating them over and over again. It's always a risk because do you want to end on a high or do you want to risk losing your winning streak versus them?
What are your thoughts on the future of Magic Duels?
Tough questions. I mean, I kind of like they are getting better. Duels is getting more and more polished, I guess, as we go along. If you know what I mean. We have no idea what Magic Next is. It's a replacement for Duels. Is it a completely different thing? Overall, I'm quite liking it so far, and I kind of like the system we've got, even if it could be a lot better. But I do like the system of cards every expansion, all that good stuff.
It's quite interesting how they made this as sort of a different format from everything else.
Well, one of the coolest things about following Duels is that decks that Standard would never ever see, and stuff like Tutelage, for example, that didn't make any dent in Standard basically, and then in Duels it's one of the contenders, if you know what I mean. So it's pretty cool seeing how Duels evolves with some of the Origins cards, some of the Duels D cards, seeing how that evolves alongside Standard to see where we end up at and stuff. It's pretty cool.
I do have a question if you've seen any of the material I've posted in the video FAQ.
I actually did watch some of that stuff. Some of the beginner stuff. I thought it was pretty good actually. I thought it covered. I was going to make a beginner post at one point, and then I saw yours, and I was like, well, that's just better than anything I could do. So it's kind of unusual for Magic in that we don't really have. We're quite a small part of the Magic community, but I do like it. We're kind of a close knit group. If you like unlocking sets, it's a good idea to to stick to blocks, for example, like Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch or Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, stuff like that. Just because then you get more synergy between the cards, but you can build a decent deck, I think, with...
There is just so much material. I cannot possibly, conceivably do all of this by
Yeah.
myself. Not even close. So if somebody is willing to help, I'm definitely all the way.
I'll just keep brewing and stuff, see where we end up.
I'd also perhaps need a person who can make the English subtitles, because I already have the subtitles for most of the main videos in German, Spanish, and Russian.
Oh wow, we've got a lot of languages in there.
Yeah, and this is mainly from people here on Discord and people I've personally asked to help. So I did find from the YouTube analytics that quite a lot of people watch with English subtitles, which are automatically generated. The Reanimator Combinator, I think it's the deck that I've enjoyed the most in the previous season and this season as well. I think you might like it.
I'm not gonna look at it now. It looks spicy.
Thank you very much for the interview, and I hope that we'll see each other again soon.
Yeah, sure. It was nice being here, and it was, like I said, thanks for having us. Really, not too much else to say.
All right, thanks, Nighthawk. See you.
See you.